but now for a quick Devar Torah. And one of the things I couldn't help noticing is a calendric issue. July 4th, 1776 happened to be on the 17th of Tamuz of that year. And it's interesting, the juxtaposing of the two. What was the reason for the destruction of the second temple was Sinat Chinam. The first temple was murder and idol worship, etc. In both cases, it was a breakdown of society, a breakdown of the social norms. That was the reason for us losing, in both cases, both temples. And this is what we're mourning when it comes to Tisha B'Av, that our society broke down. Remember the rabbis, they mentioned the Romans, but the Romans and the Babylonians are only mentioned that they were the instruments of God. It was God who decided that we did not deserve either the first or second temples because of our behavior, because society was breaking down. And note, by the way, nothing about the ritual aspects, that the Jews were doing the ritual correctly. It was how they treated each other. If you look at the founding of the United States, one of the things that they stressed with the Declaration of Independence, and that society has to be intact, that there has to be a social order. And later on with the Constitution, they brought it even further to make sure there was a government that would meet the needs of keeping the social order. Now you jump a few years after the Constitution to July 14th, 1789, and we have something called Bastille Day, or the French Revolution, which quickly broke down into anarchy. And then the Reign of Terror, eventually the rule of Napoleon, etc. But again, this is a lesson to us. We should learn from these historical facts that the Americans, before we threw off the yoke of the British government, we made sure there was a government in place, that society was intact. The French just overthrew the old regime and then didn't know what to do afterwards. It took them 3 days to decide what to call the National Assembly. It was a big debate, believe it or not. And this is juxtaposed to the 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av. When society breaks down, nothing good will come of it. Everything will go away. But when you need a change, you have to think long and hard what that change will be. And you work to make that change correctly. So that probably is the most important lesson of this, that the Americans thought long and hard, the French did not. And the Jews, what was going on in Jerusalem when the Romans had surrounded the city, they were being besieged by the Romans, and what did the Jews do? They had a civil war. They were fighting with each other. So the Romans said, okay, well, wait, let the Jews kill each other off, let's work for us. But again, it teaches you, society breaks down, bad things are going to happen. And to close with this, the great quote by John Adams. When he was president in 1789, he wrote a letter to the Massachusetts militia in which he stated, our Constitution was made for religious and moral population. It will not work with any other kind. In other words, the lesson that we have to take from the 3 weeks, Tisha B'Av, tomorrow, is that we have to be a moral and religious population who have to care for each other. And if we have disagreements, we have to learn how to disagree agreeably. While When you don't, society breaks down. Something to think about.